What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I am an herbalist and astrologer, and it is the time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for rocking with me time after time, week after week. I know I wasn't here last week. Some of y'all DM'd me being like, hey, are you okay? Kinda. Here we are again. Let's rock with it. Don't forget to join the Patreon. Don't forget to check me out on YouTube. I just launched a new podcast called What is the Time? You'll be able to find all that on YouTube as well as the RSS feed. You'll be able to find all this ZamboniFunk.com. Check out the new joints, Can't Help Myself, on Spotify. It is the bomb. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. This week, we are coming off the heels of the new moon in Leo. Last week, we had the new moon in Leo. It was raucous and very exciting. A lot of things have gone down. We are going to see a continuation of these themes. So we've still got Saturn in Aquarius. We've still got Uranus in Taurus. I've been talking about these things for like 2 years now. There's Saturn wants to order things, wants to manage things, wants to make systems more efficient. Uranus is like, fuck that. Uranus is trying to liberate things, liberate itself. Uranus is really big on breakups, breakdowns, breakthroughs. The way that you thought it was going to happen, it's not going to happen like that anymore. We're going to do a different thing. Classic, you plan, God laughs kind of situation, right? Whatever you thought was going to happen, whatever if you were like married to a particular outcome or something like that, this is not that week. Especially because, so we've got Saturn and Uranus, right? Also in Taurus, we have Mars. So Mars has come through. Mars at the very beginning of the week is going to conjoin Uranus. That's going to sort of give a spark to that Uranus situation. So Uranus is going to want to bring the disruption and the chaos and the surprises and all this kind of stuff. Mars is going to activate that. Mars is going to, we can think about, because Uranus has been in Taurus for, 6 years now or something like this, from 2018, then that is, whenever we see an outer planet moving through a sign like this, then we can think about that as more of a phase than a particular event, right? Like as soon as Uranus moved into Taurus, then we got volcanoes erupting and that sort of stuff. That doesn't mean that volcanoes just continuously erupt for a period of 7 years. You know what I mean? So there are likely to be trigger events that kind of push the thing forward. Mars can be thought of as the trigger event. Mars can be thought of as the spark, right? You've got kindling here and it's just waiting to burn, and then Mars comes through with the flint, right? And so that is what we've got going on here. At the beginning of the week, Mars is going to conjoin Uranus. Not only Uranus, but also the North Node. North Node is thought of as like the head of the dragon, right? It's been severed from the tail of the dragon, and so it is just the head. All it does is it wants to gobble things up. More. It's there's like a greedy, hungry ghost kind of feeling. It never gets enough, right? And so sometimes whenever I think about Mars and the North Node together, we can think about angry and confused, right? And Mars tends toward anger anyway. Also, the North Node kind of tends toward anger. But this greed feels confused. It feels like it doesn't know how to manage all of it, right? And then we add Uranus to that, and there's extra excitement and all this kind of stuff. So we're going to see that stuff really kicking off, not even kicking off, like it's the beginning. It's like really just going. This stuff is more and more this week. This is not forever. We're not going to continuously see chaos and disruption, but this week, that's what we're doing this week. Because what we're going to see is early in the week, Mars is going to conjoin Uranus in the North Node, turning all that stuff up. Then throughout the rest of the week, Mars is going to keep moving and hit a square with Saturn at the end of the week. So what we're going to see is big chaos and disruption and stuff blowing up and, breakups, breakdowns, breakthroughs are the kind of thing that Uranus likes to signify, and Mars wants to get that into motion here, especially around Taurus things, around body stuff, around food, around nutrition, around rest, around what other body things, hugging, and all this sort of stuff. like Taurus, or land, resources, all this kind of stuff is likely to show up. Right, Mars is going to want to kick all that off and get the spark going to it. Right, then as we engage that chaos and disruption, then we see Mars moving into a square with Saturn. So there's big chaos and disruption, big explosive dynamics, and then Saturn, who continues to be in a position of authority. Let's not forget that Saturn rules Aquarius. Let's not forget that Saturn has been in domicile for like 5 years now. So this is a super strong Saturn. We can think about Saturn as being organizations. We can think about Saturn as being management authorities. We can think about Saturn as being, like uniform types. You know what I mean? With the cap and the badge on the front and all this sort of stuff. Like, this is how Saturn likes to get down. Saturn is also an overseer, right? This kind of thing. So we're going to see oversight on the disruptive, chaotic thing, right? So there's big disruption that wants to take place here. We can take a look at Sri Lanka and we can see like the bread riots and this kind of thing going on, right? That's taking place, and those want to get bigger. Big things want to get more disruptive. We really might see, like stuff in the way of volcanoes or natural disasters or these kinds of things, like big chaos sort of stuff. And then from there, then we get a square to Saturn. So there's an attempt from Saturn, and Saturn, who is in the overcoming position, who is also in domicile, I feel like has a good hold on it. It's a lot for Saturn to deal with, and things are sort of like starting to get out of hand on that Saturn. Saturn might not like have a good idea of like how to actually do it, but because Saturn is still in a position of authority, is still in a position of power and domicile, then we're likely to still see the managerial or the authoritative types able to come down on the rebel situation, the unexpected, the chaotic situation, and impose a certain kind of order or regulation on that situation. I don't think that Saturn's long game right now, or the medium term, if we're looking at the next 5 years from here, we're coming off of 5 years of like Saturn being super strong, and then the next 5 years that are coming after this is like, ooh, this is not as strong a Saturn anymore, right? However, we are not to that part yet. We're still in super strong Saturn land, so we're going to be seeing this authoritative situation. As I've been thinking with this on an individual level, like how does a person live with this? I've really been thinking with like improv and contact improv and that kind of thing. Like there's a situation of like touching bodies and this kind of thing, and moving in an unconventional or unexpected way that can generate hilarity. And I really think that hilarity is the way in on this one, because there's a lot of chaos, disruption, unexpected things. Well, the good news is that is how good jokes are made also, right? You're going down this particular path and you think you know where you're going, and then suddenly you make this turn, and then something wild and crazy happens, and then that can generate a big laugh, right? And so there is room for that kind of situation here that we're dealing with. There's room for hilarity. There's room for a good joke to be had. And, if the whole universe is a joke, if, I'm planning and God is laughing, then there's a good chance that I can get in on the laugh. If I can get my head out of the fixed mindset, which is something that happens, right? We'll get into this fixed place with Taurus placements, with Scorpio placements, with Leo placements, with Aquarius placements. We get into this mindset where it's like, I want it to be the way that I want it to be. And then as things get disrupted, then that can generate, tears and struggle and this kind of thing, right? Humans who deal with change, even good change, things that are good for us, we still cry about it a lot of times, right? But can we find the hilarity? Is there a way to get into it and be like, all right, I thought it was going to happen this way. It's clearly not going to happen this way, but necessity is the mother of invention. Is there a way I can go around it? Is there a way I can we can maintain personal sovereignty? Don't forget that there's big Leo stuff going on here as well. As always, I have run out of time. Thank you so much for being here. Check me out, zambonifunk.com. I look forward to seeing y'all next time.